Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Cooking on Wheels. Today we will be making 3 different kinds of summer/spring type of salads, which all 3 don't have any lettuce, so they're non-lettuce based salads. So the first one that we're going to be making is a bean salad. So let's get started. So I have some of my ingredients kind of half prepped today, just for time's sake. But you're going to start by chopping 3 to 4 avocados into bite-sized pieces. Everything in this recipe you want to be bite-sized because usually it's to be able to get like a little bit of all the ingredients together in one bite. So if they're nice and small, it's a little easier to do that. So next we're going to dice 1 bell pepper. You can use whatever color you want. I'm using orange, but any color is fine. I like to use orange because of the other ingredients, just to kind of give a difference in color. Since we already have the green from the avocados, the red from the tomato that's going to be in this, and the yellow from the corn, I felt like orange would fit better, so that way it's another color contrast for the recipe. So next we're going to cut up some tomatoes. You can use like bigger tomatoes or the baby tomatoes. I like using the baby tomatoes just because they're a little quicker, because all you have to do is cut them in half and just toss them in. Whereas with the bigger tomatoes, you kind of have to chop a lot more. But it's really up to you. This is one of my favorite recipes to have during the summertime. I grew up eating this actually because my mom would make it all the time. So this is technically her secret recipe. But I changed a couple of things, so it's still, some of it's still a secret for her. But this is, like I said, one of the recipes that I grew up eating. It would be one of my favorite things to eat, like in the pool and stuff like that. When we have friends over, and it's quick because you can make it like even the day before or something. The only thing I would say to do like the day of is to cut the avocados, just so that way they don't brown. But even if you did it earlier in the day or something like that, it's still okay. And then you would just refrigerate it until you're ready to eat it. You could eat it by itself. I love eating it with Tostito chips, like the little like scoop chips. That's the best with this. But you can really eat it however you want. Sometimes I even put it like as like a side dish, like with like chicken, or like if you do like a barbecue or something like that. It's like a nice, refreshing side dish with that as well. And then last thing we have to cut is just black olives. You could buy these pre-sliced. I like to just slice them myself, but they come pre-sliced as well if that's easier for you. Totally up to you though. Okay, now that we have everything chopped up, we're just gonna add, I have some frozen corn. This is about a cup and a half or so, straight in. And then 1 can of black beans. You could also do this recipe with chickpeas or cannellini beans, or really anything that you want. Then I'm just gonna add some salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna make the dressing. So the dressing that I use is called Good Seasonings. It's just like an Italian seasoning mix, but it is my all-time favorite dressing to use for any kind of salad, honestly. So what's cool is it also has all the measurements on the bottle. So the first thing we're gonna use is vinegar. I like like to use white balsamic, but you could really use any kind of vinegar. I've had this recipe with red wine vinegar or like traditional balsamic too. But like I said, it's really whatever you want. So you just pour it straight to the line. A little bit of a mess, it's okay. Then you're gonna add a splash of water. Please do not judge that I'm using bottled water. And then the top line is right to here, and you're gonna fill that straight through with olive oil. Actually, one time I made this dressing with Dijon mustard, and I think that one was my all-time favorite. That one I loved. It was so, so good. But I like for something like this recipe to use kind of a lighter dressing with the balsamic, because it's not as like overpowering. So then you open the packet, pour the whole thing right in, and then you put the lid on, make sure it's secure, and then pretty much just shake it. Now that it's all combined, so you're gonna take the bottle and just pour it right over the salad. Spoon and give everything a really good mix. You could also add cucumbers or red onion to this recipe if you want. My mom makes it that way sometimes. I'm not the biggest fan personally of red onions and cucumbers, so I don't add them. I like cucumbers some ways, but in this specifically, I don't like it. But yeah, you could always add that. You can add really any vegetables that you could think of that are like very like fresh ingredients like this. Because this is a really good salad, so honestly, anything you add to it, I don't think could mess it up. Now I'm gonna take my serving plate. So I think I might have explained this about these bowls once or twice, but these are just normal bowls, but I've learned how to kind of adapt them because they're really heavy for me, like picking it up like this. So if I were to pick it up like that to then tilt it, it's too heavy, it'll slip out of my hand. So I've learned there's these little hooks on them, just the way that these bowls came that I had them, and I slip my hand through it, so then I can hold it like that. So it's easier that I can help grip my hand around it, so I could do that, so I could scoop it in. Just a little trick that I've learned. So I'll save for later. And there you have it. Hi everyone. So our next recipe is going to be a sesame-ginger cucumber salad. So let's get started. So here I have 2 peeled cucumbers that I'm just gonna slice them like that, but I think I'm going to have them as well. So you want to just chop up all your cucumbers just like this. This recipe is really, really quick because literally you cut up your cucumber and then you make the dressing, and that's it. Like, it's so, so simple. I've actually made this recipe a few different times. One of the times I made it, like kind of like on the spot, meaning like that I just like made it right before it was ready to serve. And the other time I made it like a day or two in advance, and it actually came out so much better that way. So I highly recommend making this recipe ahead of time, because so part of the dressing is soy sauce and rice vinegar, and the acidity from those ingredients, it kind of soaks through a little bit more, and it gives the cucumbers, like the cucumbers kind of take on the flavor of the dressing itself, since cucumbers have such like a heavy like water content to them. So it actually helps bring out the flavor of like the dressing basically. So like I said, I highly recommend making this in advance, but it's still a really good salad and salad dressing and all that, even if you didn't do that. So now that you have all the cucumber chopped up, you're gonna take a small bowl to make the dressing. So the dressing is gonna be about 2 tablespoons or so of rice vinegar. And about 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. A teeny tiny drop, just because it's spicy. Unless you like really spicy, then add more. This one is gochujang sauce, which is Korean chili sauce, but you can use sriracha or any kind of like spicy sauce, like Asian sauce like that you'd like. You're gonna do some ground ginger. You could also use fresh ginger. This is just what I had on hand. And that's about teaspoon or so. Sprinkle of sesame seeds, and you'll use more of these on top of the salad afterwards as well. A few drops of sesame oil. Now, I only say a few drops because sesame oil is super, super strong. So a little bit goes a long way with this. And then a little bit of honey for some sweetness. And then about half to 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then you're just gonna whisk that all together until it's fully combined. Okay. Then you're gonna wanna add some salt and pepper to your cucumbers. You could go kind of easy with the salt just because there is already the soy sauce, which has salt in it. You know I'm using low sodium soy sauce. And then you're gonna pour your dressing. You're gonna mix that all together. And this is with everything that you make, you want to try it, but this is one of those recipes that you really want to make sure you try after you make it, because you want to make sure that you have enough flavors of each of the ingredients. So if you like something a little bit more spicy, add a little bit more of the gochujang. If you want a little bit more of like a sharp kind of bite to it, you can add a splash more of rice vinegar. And so on and so forth. So that's all combined. So I'm gonna try a piece. Perfect. So now I'm gonna just plate it. And this recipe is perfect for summer, especially when it's really hot out, because it's super refreshing, straight out of the fridge, especially with like the ice cold cucumbers. It's awesome. I actually made this recipe once. I made, they were spicy pork burgers, like kind of like a hamburger. And I made it with fresh guac. And I put this, I cut the cucumbers into like very thin little like coins. And I put it on top of the burger as well. It was so, so good. It added like a nice like crunchy bite to it. But there you have it. Here's your cucumber salad. Enjoy. Okay, so this is our last recipe. We will be making a fennel and orange salad. So let's get started. In a bowl, I have some sliced oranges. It was just easier for me to cut them earlier on because they're a little difficult for me. So I did that earlier today. But first, we're gonna start by cutting up the fennel. So I'm gonna be honest, I've eaten fennel, but I've actually never cooked with it. So this is a new experience for me. So I'm kind of guessing as I make this, but I think it'll come out good. We'll see. So if you've noticed, since I can't cut straight through with one hand, I like to position the knife where I need to get it and kind of get it stuck in the food so it doesn't slide. And then I go over it with my other hand to kind of help with the pressure since I don't have the strength in just one arm by itself. The rest of the pieces of fennel I will cut up later or something, or use it for another recipe. Next, you're gonna want to cut about half or so of one small shallot. You could even mince this if you prefer. I'm just chopping it really, really small, kind of like the bigger version of mincing. So then you're gonna take a small bowl and put your shallots in there. And set that to the side. Okay. And one of the last things, we have two more things to chop. Next, we're gonna cut up some celery stalks. So I still have them on the stem right now. So you just want to break off a few stalks like this. I think 3 is good. You could always add more if you prefer, or less. And then just slice straight through. So now the last thing that we have to cut up, I have it separated in a bag just when I was prepping the vegetables earlier. It was just easier this way. I have some of the fennel top part. And I only need a little bit, but I'm just gonna kind of roll it up, kind of like how you would do chiffonade with basil. And just chop it up super, super tiny. And then scoop that up and put it with the shallots. Okay. Next, we're gonna take lemon juice. And I think I've explained this before, but I actually can't squeeze like a regular lemon. So I use bottled lemon juice. If I have someone helping me in the kitchen, I will use like actual lemon juice, the fresh kind. But this is kind of just a little alternative for when I'm not able to do that myself. And then I have a little bit of dried basil, about half a teaspoon. And I'm gonna do salt and pepper. And then just olive oil. Could do about, I'm gonna say about 3 tablespoons or so. And then whisk that all together. Okay. And then we're gonna pour that onto the salad. And then we're just gonna mix that. So the inspiration I had for this salad was that I had a very similar salad at a restaurant in California back in July, and I really, really loved it. It was like a super hot day, so it was like an amazing, amazing dish. And they made it, I think it had also tomato, and I'm trying to remember, I want to say walnuts they added as well, which was a really fun twist to it, but I wanted to make it this way instead. So I added celery to mine instead. Theirs did not have celery. And that's it. That's your final recipe. So I really hope that you enjoyed making these 3 different salads with me, and I hope you give them a try. And make sure to check out the next episode of Cooking on Wheels. Bye.